Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing with learning how to draw the foot. This is the second video that I've made. The first video we had one side of the foot, and now I thought it would be a good idea for us to focus on drawing the outside of the foot. So as I mentioned before, one of the first things that I like to do is get my directional lines. So I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of tracing paper and put it over this picture. And what I'm going to do is copy this picture and send it to you as a link so you can use this picture as your own reference. And what I'm going to do is just get some simple directional lines. And this is going to help me with figuring out my major shapes when I draw my picture. So I think it's easier sometimes to break things up into simpler forms before we start to look at more complex shapes. Okay, so we have our directional lines. Just going to get that up here. Okay, let's move this over. Okay. And now we have this. So hopefully this is going to help you to see the simpler shape that's there. So I'm going to now go ahead and take my standard paper and I'll show you how I create my drawing from my reference drawing that I've chosen. And I have mentioned this in my last video, but if you want to know how to draw some great forms, a book that I have used my reference pictures from is Dynamic Anatomy by Bern Hogarth. And when I get the opportunity, I'll create some affiliate links so that way you can go ahead and try to order that book through the description below. So I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I will get there eventually. So let me go ahead and get started. So as I said before, what I want to do is just get an overall sense. Let me start just a little bit more to the side. And when I draw, I like to just get the gesture of what I'm doing, which just means that I'm just getting like a very quick impression with very light, sketchy lines. And this is not meant to be precise. It's just meant to get an overall sense of where everything's going to be. And now I'm going to start to look at those directional forms. So just like we did before, I'm going to pay attention. So I'm just imagining in my mind the direction of those forms. Okay, so it looks like I've got something pretty close to check it with my tracing paper and see how close I am. And it looks like I'm pretty close. Okay, I think I just need to bring up the bottom a little bit. Okay. So as I mentioned in previous videos, a good rule of thumb is to remember to work from the outside in. So I would not start by drawing the toes. Okay, so don't start by drawing the individual toes. Start by getting the overall shape of what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in my main lines here. And it is okay that I have some of these directional lines showing right now. I'm just going to be a little sketchy here with my toes that are here. I really don't want to get too detailed. I think so some correction might need to happen, and that's okay. Sometimes we draw, make some marks, we take a look at our work, and then we decide to do a little correction. That's a normal part of the process. So if I have anyone out there that is a little bit of a perfectionist, and that's sometimes it's part of being an artist, is you've got a great attention to detail. It's okay to do a little trial and error. So just tell yourself from the get-go that while you're drawing, you're going to need to have some correction, and that's okay. Just trying to find those overall shapes here, so I'm looking for that curve. So now I'm looking for, I had that overall angle, but now I'm looking for these curves here. And I'm going to try to be as accurate as I can with my drawing on the left. It looks like I'm pretty close. And I'm going to go ahead and just put some very light lines here just to see how this works. So I'm making that round part of the toe here, coming in and then curving up. So same thing over here, we're in that round part of the toe, that come up and curve up here. So if you want to make like a little almost lines of where that could be helpful for when you're making your other forms. Same thing here, I'm going to curve up. Gotta pay attention to where that top line is. Okay. It looks like I've got this accurate. Also pay attention to how far down this toe is in relation. So you want to pick the toe that is coming the furthest down. So this one is the one that, so if I drew a line straight across, just kind of pay attention to this negative shape. So we want to look at the shape that's surrounding the outside edge of the toes. All right, so I'm just checking my curves here, checking my lines. It looks like I'm doing pretty well. I think this last toe could use a little bit of work. All right, so I think I've got the overall shapes of everything pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and start to put in those toenails. So notice how this is touching. So I'm going to want to come in a little bit more, All right, so I've got that one done. We're going to continue with that shape. So it might be a good idea to actually practice this kind of. I want to see the shape. Point this out here just on my tracing paper that this toenail shape is kind of a. I'm going to make it nice and big so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So it's like a curved trapezoid. So if we imagine that a trapezoid is like this, okay, what we're doing is we're taking that trapezoid and we're curving it. We're doing this, we're curving that. And that might help you to see when you're looking at fingernails or toenails to see that it's a curved trapezoid. So try to see that when you're drawing your either your fingers or your toes. Okay, now I'll just find part of some of these wrinkles that are here. Oh, that one's going to come up just a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing up here. These lines, get rid of some of the extra. I'm going to get rid of some of my extra lines here. So let me go ahead and just do that with my larger eraser. So you can try to grab a large eraser for doing some of your heavier lifting. And if you're not sure if you're accurate, I've mentioned this in other videos, but a little artist trick, take your picture and look at it in a mirror. And sometimes the mirror will just kind of give you this way of seeing things that you just kind of got used to looking at. I also recommend that if you've been working on a drawing for a long period of time, that you just take a break from it. Sometimes by taking a break, you get a new perspective. So I'm now going to go ahead and put in my ankle. So something I want to do is I want to check to see the bottom of this, where is that in relation to my other shapes. So if I draw a line straight over, I'll see that it's at this point of the heel. So I'll just do the same thing over here. And then you're just going to need to decide how far it is here. So when you're drawing, I think it's important to pay attention to the distances from one line to another, and that helps you to create accurate proportions. All right, it looks like I've got most of my lines in here. I'm now going to go ahead and put in some of these tendon lines. You don't need to, when I'm doing these, I'm not pressing down too hard. I'm kind of keeping it a little on the lighter side. Okay. And I'm going to start to look for a little bit of value here. So I do have a pretty heavy line kind of going around all this, so you don't have to be as heavy. All right, so let us start with just this toe over here. So I mentioned this to you in another video, but I like to leave just the edge or the bottom of the toes. You might want to not shade all the way to the bottom. Just leave a little bit of some white there, and it looks like we have some light reflecting off the bottom. And that'll add to the illusion of what you're doing. So starting with the next toe, I'm just doing a little bit of shading around the edge, but not all the way towards the bottom. Okay, same thing here. Bit of some of that shading. Take this line. Hold on once. I'm going to put this up here a little bit. This line up here. So if you, when you have this, you'll be able to print it out and then get a little closer. Sometimes what I tell some of my students, what I tell them to do is if they want to see the detail, sometimes a way of, I wouldn't say cheating, but something that could help you is to take a picture of it with one of your, with a device like a smartphone, and then really zoom in and then look at the details. And that could be a way of kind of really seeing what's there. So I'm shading in this direction. I'll put in the value on the sides of the toenails. And I'm just paying attention to the shapes that are here. And keeping pressure on my pencil pretty light. If you'll notice, I am not going to shade all the way to the bottom. I'm keeping just a little bit of a white gap between between this line and my shading. I'm keeping it white on the bottom, and that's giving a little bit of a it's like the light was reflecting off of the room or the floor, and it's coming up. Let me just erase that line that's here. And you're welcome to kind of just follow the same steps that I'm doing. All right. So I'm getting close here. I just need to put a little bit more value on the sides. I think I just need a quick sharpen of my pencil. And if you're going for a lot more realism, I think you're going to want to just really push your values more. So right now, that I would say I'm just doing some general values here, just to help us to see the form and to make it not as flat looking when we're looking at this foot. All right, the last part that I want to focus on is the bottom. So I'll fill in those darker areas where the toes are. This is kind of like where the toes are meeting the ground. So I'm putting in some heavier value here and then letting that spread out. All right, so because the toes are really touching and the foot is off the ground, we really don't want to have this black line going all the way up here. We want to stop here because this is where the foot is off the ground. And I'm keeping my marks pretty even across. Okay, I think I'll just do a quick little eraser check around the edge just to make sure I didn't go too heavy with my lines here. And it looks like I have a pretty accurate reproduction of the drawing that I did over here on the left. All right, so I am going to stop there. So why don't you guys give this a go, download this picture, go ahead and try to do this, and I think that this should help you with your understanding of drawing feet. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day.